Memtic universe. So a universe that's just influenced by another universe. Like everything in that universe is just a copy of another one because it's just. Oh boy. Oh boy, look at that math. Save. The original copy of SCP-1314-B is to be stored in a clearly marked A4 manila envelope kept in Dr. Office. Digital copies of -A and -B are to be stored on the standard isolated electronic repositories at Site 15, Site 33, and Research Sector 15. Digital copies of -B are not to be stored on Foundation intranet. Every 6 months, the original -B is to be digitally scanned at the highest resolution available and returned to storage. Any physical copies of -B are to be incinerated after testing. Any personal testing SCP-1314 should carry one dose of a Class A amnestic for emergency use. -A is a set of mathematical equations describing physical behaviors in a simulated universe. The initial conditions of which are stored in -B. When read by a sapient organism, -A causes a mimetic effect depending on the logical and spatial-temporal reasoning skills of the exposed subject. If the subject has a spatial-temporal reasoning index SRI of above 82 and a logical reasoning index LRI of above 93, they are implanted with a desire to search for a copy of -B, similar to the effect of standard mimetic obsession agents. This effect is reduced after separation from -A and decays entirely after approximately 8 hours, without exposure. If the subject does not meet these conditions, they will repeatedly review -A with the effect of raising the SRI by 0.3 and LRI by 0.1 for each minute of exposure until reaching 82 and 93 respectively. This effect has not been observed to decay and is considered permanent. Okay, an excerpt of -A sensor to remove mimetic hazards. So when they read out loud the mathematical equation, they try to find another equation. That I'm a bit confuzzled with this one. -B is a string of hexadecimal digits interspersed with mimetic triggers. On exposure, -B causes a mimetic effect dependent on the last point in time the subject was exposed to -A. If the time since exposure is over 8 hours, the subject is implanted with the desire to locate a copy of -A, which again decays over the course of 8 hours. If they have been exposed to -A more recently than this, then the subject enters a state of deep concentration for minutes, during which they decrypt the information stored in -B. The instructions for the decryption of -B are stored in the embedded mimetic triggers. Exposure to -A after exposure to -B has no additional effect. The documents must be viewed in the correct order to result in the anomalous phenomenon. After sequential exposure to -A and B, subject report obsession with mentally stimulating the universe described by SCP-1314. This obsession does not render them incapable of performing normal tasks if necessary, but has been reported as extremely distracting, and they will favor sitting and thinking over all other tasks. The simulated universe is three-dimensional and operates on the discrete time and spatial dimensions. Light and air do not exist in this universe. Heat transfer is simulated via a modified version of caloric theory, while gravity and collisions are simulated according to Newtonian physics. Objects within this universe are either spheres or polyhedrons, where spheres are approximately 3 orders of magnitude larger than polyhedrons. Whenever a polyhedron is heated above 316 temperature units, it splits into smaller polyhedrons with temperature 158 temperature units. Spheres do not possess upper temperature limits. This behavior results in the simulation drastically increasing in computational complexity after 29,000 time units, where a sphere with temperature in excess of 9,200,000 temperature units collide with an asteroid belt of polyhedrons in orbit around another sphere. This causes an exponential duplication of polyhedrons. I am lost. When the impact event occurs, the subject will show distress as they need to mentally keep track of hundreds of thousands of objects simultaneously. Also, like in their mind, they have a whole universe to think. Like kind of like how there was this one SCP where it was a video game where you can create your own universe, your own galaxy and all that stuff, and you have to like keep track of everything. But in this one, it's in your head, I assume. At this point, subjects begin overriding their previous memories to keep track of the objects. Once the space is expanded, the effect spreads into a more critical part of the brain. No subject has remained capable of speech after 30,300 time units. Eventually, the subject will override the involuntary muscle control, resulting in death by either asphyxiation or cardiac arrest. At any point in exposure, administering a Class A amnestic will wipe the simulation from the user's mind, usually facilitating a full recovery. However, memories that are written by the effect of later stages of SCP-1314 cannot be recovered. So yeah, it's just basically the whole brain will just focus on having a simulation of a universe in their head that they have to take care of. Or like observe, basically. Okay, I think I get a bit more. Still a bit confused at the beginning part, but this part makes more sense. The original copy of SCP-1314 was sent via email to Agent by Ditto Expunged. After she had missed work for 3 days, Agent was sent to investigate her disappearance. Upon finding Agent in the later stages of infection and performing crosswords and mental exercises with the intent of delaying her calculations, Agent contained SCP-1314 and administered both Class A and B amnestics to Agent as a precautionary measure. Shortly after her recovery, Agent accompanied Agent in Ditto Expunged, preventing further distribution of hazardous mimetic agents. After experimental analysis, the containment of a physical copy of -A was deemed unnecessary, and the original was destroyed after being digitally scanned. Request to use -A to increase logical and spatial temporal reasoning skills of D-Class personnel for use in unrelated experiment. Dr. Granted 05. Okay. A bit confusing at the beginning. The whole mathematical equation thing is a bit confusing to me, but I understand the simulation part. That part I understand.